13, 14. Oh, hey, I'm Kalani. I was just counting the number of these little Christmas gifts I made. These are for all of my students. Aren't they cute? I need to make a few more, but looks like I need more ribbon. You know, giving gifts is so much fun, especially at Christmas time. But have you ever wondered what gifts have to do with Christmas? When I have questions like this, I can check out what it says in the Bible. The Bible is God's true message to us about himself, and it tells us about when God's son Jesus was born. Let's open up the Bible to the book of Matthew, over in the New Testament, the second part of the Bible. You see, Jesus had already been born in a town called Bethlehem, and there were some people called wise men who lived far away from Bethlehem during that time. After Jesus was born, the wise men knew something amazing had happened, and they traveled a long way to see what it was. Let's find out what they found when they finally arrived. Wise men visited Jesus. After Jesus was born, wise men traveled from the east to a place called Jerusalem. The king at the time was named Herod. These wise men found King Herod and asked him, "Where's the one who's been born king of the Jews? We saw his star in the sky and have come to worship him." Okay, let's break down what just happened. These wise men from the east traveled super far to find Jesus, and they were even led by a special star. Then when they got to Jerusalem, a big city during that time, they went and found the king and asked him where to find the king of the Jews. Talk about a surprise! They just walked up to the king and asked him where the other king was. King Herod was not happy to hear this news. Let's see what happened next. When King Herod heard this, he got very upset, which made the others around him worried and upset as well. King Herod gathered the religious leaders and asked them about the Messiah, the one God promised to send to rescue his people. He wanted to know where this Messiah would be born. The religious leaders told King Herod what was written by a prophet. The Messiah will be born in a place called Bethlehem. So King Herod secretly met with the wise men. He asked them, "When did you first see this star that you followed? I would like for you to go to Bethlehem. Go and search carefully for this child who was born. When you find him, come back and tell me so that I can also go and worship him." The wise men left King Herod and went to Bethlehem, following the same star. They followed it until the star led them to the place where Jesus was. When they saw where the star led them, they were overwhelmed with joy. The wise men went into the house where Jesus was with his mother Mary. They fell on their knees and worshiped Jesus. The wise men also brought Jesus gifts. They brought him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. However, the wise men were warned in a dream not to go back and tell Herod where Jesus was. So they returned to their own country a different way. This story is so interesting. These wise men came to find Jesus by following a special star. When they found Jesus, they bowed down and worshiped him, and brought him expensive gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. What's so cool about these gifts is that they point to who Jesus is, God's only son. Gold represented royalty back then, and Jesus is the king of everything. Frankincense was used in the temple, where people came to worship God. Jesus is God and the one we are to worship. And myrrh, that may be the most interesting gift of all. It was used during the burial process after someone had died. Jesus is the one who would grow up and fulfill God's plan. He took the punishment for our sin, died on a cross, was buried in a tomb, and then came back to life 3 days later. You see, these gifts help us understand that Jesus was not just an ordinary person. He is God's son, the greatest gift. So next time you're getting ready for Christmas, maybe wrapping some gifts for your friends or shopping for your family, remember, the gifts we give at Christmas time help us point to the greatest gift ever, Jesus. Jesus came to make a way for us to have a relationship with God. When we believe in who Jesus is, ask God to forgive our sin, and begin to follow him, God gives us forgiveness through his son, Jesus. When we have a relationship with God, we are never alone. Pretty great, right? Well, I better get back to finishing up these gifts for my students. See you next time.
detectives! Let's learn this month's theme verse from the Bible. The Bible is God's true message to us about himself. Today we are looking at the book of Matthew in the second part of the Bible, the New Testament. They will name him Emmanuel, God with us. Matthew 1:23b. This Bible verse is talking about Jesus. God's people had been waiting for a long time for Jesus to come. And at Christmas, we celebrate that God sent Jesus to be born at just the right time. Another name for Jesus is Emmanuel, which means God with us. Now everyone, stand up and repeat after me. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. They will name him Emmanuel.
They will name him Emmanuel.
God with us.
God with us.
Matthew 1:23b.
Matthew 1:23b.
Great job! When we celebrate Christmas, we can remember that we are never alone because God is with us. Let's say our theme verse all together, but this time I want you to say it with a quiet whisper voice, like you're pretending to be a detective. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. They will name him Emmanuel, God with us. Matthew 1:23b. Great job! We are never alone because God sent Jesus for us. It looks like this case is closed.
Cooper, we've got a new case.
Or so I thought.